This is Terms of Reference. I'm your host, Stephen Laddick. Jonah Ayodele Obajeun is the chief curator for the Tolerance Academy, a Nigeria-based NGO focused on youth capacity building in the areas of democracy and peace building. The Academy delivers its training and programming through an innovative mobile campus that has been recognized by multiple global institutions, including the United Nations Global Alliance of Civilizations. Jonah is also an author who has won national and international writing contests and whose essays have been published in popular Nigerian blogs. He is currently set to release his first book of fiction in mid-2014. I spoke with Jonah in Lagos, Nigeria. Hi, Jonah. Thank you so much for being a part of the Terms of Reference podcast. I really appreciate you taking the time for our interview today. Tell me, Jonah, what is Tolerance Academy and what is your role in Tolerance Academy?
Okay, Tolerance Academy, it's a product of first-hand experiences in terms of political violence, religious violence, and ethnic violence in my immediate communities. I'm currently sitting in Lagos, Nigeria. Okay, then I have lived in some other parts of Nigeria, and so with Tolerance Academy project has taken me to different parts of the countries where we've implemented projects and we've spread our message. Right, so Tolerance Academy is actually a mobile peace-building academy that is fostering inter- and intra-religious relationship, intra-ethnic and inter-ethnic relationship across Nigeria. So it's a very mobile academy that we move from one place to another with our creative approach, innovative approach, dealing with peace-building subjects, with cognitive learning experiences, and then with knowledge transfer mechanisms.
When you say it's a mobile academy,
yes.
What does that mean? Does that mean that you have everything in a truck that you move around, or does that mean that you find a building and then you set up everything in a building? What does that mean?
Okay, so when I say mobile, it's not you cannot pin it to a location. Now, so it picks its message from one place to another. So it moves around with its message from one location to another location in Nigeria. We don't really have a specific place that we normally hold our program, our events. So we move our events from one place to another. So we move our events to people's doorsteps. The people who need it will take our events to their doorsteps. So we don't stay at our own comfort zone and say people should come and say we are preaching a message. So we take our message to people who need our message. So it's very mobile. So if you're in the northern part of Nigeria, be sure that we will come to your doorstep and give you the message. If you are in the eastern part of Nigeria, be sure that we'll come to your doorstep and give you the message. So we will not stay back and assume that our message will come to you. So we will take our message to your doorstep. So that's what I'm saying. It's very mobile. So why
did you choose this model for Tolerance Academy? Is that because you can't assume people will come to you, or what was the choice? Who made that decision?
Okay, so basically, tried to look at how existing models are working, right? So how existing social enterprises are doing the work, the approach, and then we'll see opportunities. So we saw some gaps, we saw some lapses, so we saw some area of improvement that we can actually leverage on. So we discovered that why people are naturally non-receptive to this kind of program. People are naturally laid back when it comes to this kind of program. So oftentimes, existing organizations struggle to get their message across. So we decided as part of the innovative approach is that we will make it mobile versus doing it the same way existing organizations are doing it. So we'll be very mobile with our message.
Tell me, every time you say it's we are doing this and we are doing, who is we? Is this, how many people work for this organization?
Exactly. So it's been driven by a set of committed, very few paid staff, about 5 of us, and about 20 volunteers. So because again, it could be my brainchild, it could be my idea, it could be something I came up with. But again, I am not the only one driving it. So it's a team. We keep having more and more volunteers who are willing to join us to come and learn what we are doing, to also come and leverage on the experience and also see how they can impact their societies.
I've seen on your website that you do two things: democracy and development and peace building. What are the differences between those?
Basically, there's no way you will talk about peace building that you will not talk about democracy. Again, peace building is about harmonizing people. It's about making people to live in harmony. So how do you make people to live in harmony? It's about understanding or accepting the reality that they are different beyond their differences and see their similarities. Again, people cannot coexist if there's nothing like a give and take strategy. And then when you talk about give and take strategy, you talk about negotiation. When you talk about negotiation, you talk about democracy. So there's no way peace building can come. People can live in harmony without democracy. So it's interwoven. So in our curriculum, it's so comprehensive and it's dynamic. So you will see peace building subjects and you see democratic subjects, So they are interwoven. One cannot exist without another. So without peace, democracy will be in danger. So, for example, we have some nascent democracies today across the world, and they are struggling. So, it's more like they are at a trigger point that any slight push, military will come and then so things will turn around. And peace building, before you can have people living in peace, coexisting in harmony, they need democracy. Then democracy cannot be sustained without peace.
Where did you learn this? How did you get involved in peace building and democracy building originally? Did you wake up one day when you were younger and said, this is what I have to do, or was there some other event that pushed you into this work?
Basically, my moment of obligation was when I actually had a first-hand experience with ethno-religious crisis, and a business partner died in an ethnic clash in Jos, northern part of Nigeria. And then, there and there, having done some research about, cultural integration, dialogue, so I've been traveled all around Nigeria to learn about people, to see how people dialogue to coexist. Again, at the burial rites of that my business partner, I saw how people were buried in mass. They were buried like dead ants. And I felt like I had to do something. I could do something. And then I started researching to know more about how I can fight on behalf of the dead. And so I got hold of some materials that I read through. And then I did a documentary. And after the documentary, I came up with the idea of Tolerance Academy. And then so there and there, adding flesh to the idea, and then we started implementing projects and getting support all around.
Tell me about this documentary you did. What was it called and what did it focus on?
So you mean documentary? Documentary actually focused on ethno-religious crisis in Nigeria. So it was a story of a family, and then I took the story of that family from how the family was even without an inkling of losing everybody in the family except the last child. And then, so I just chronicled the story of these people from the beginning to the end. And then so how crisis wiped out almost everybody in the family, and all the generations of the family almost wiped off from this planet. So that's just what the documentary was all about. So it just chronicled the life of this family. And then, after some time, I got that inkling that I could do something to really fight on behalf of these people.
What other kinds of curriculum or tools or training do you use at Tolerance Academy to help teach peace building and democracy?
So I talked about video modeling, which is what the documentary is all about. So we have various video modelings that we do, videos, simulations that we do, it's like a role modeling stuff. So that is one. Two, we also use internship, where we place our ambassadors, our participants. We place them on internship. If you are a Muslim, you do an internship in a church with a pastor of that church. Try to learn what Christianity teaches about peace building, about peace living as a Muslim. So you can know more about Christian religion. So if you are a Christian, you do your internship in a mosque where you will be eating and wining and dining with the chief imam and learn what Islam teaches about peace building.
Do you think I have to make a joke here? Do you think they'll be whining with the imam?
like where you need to wine and dine with.
I'm not sure.
Okay,
that's great. So it's a cross fertilization model of
exactly, and some participants, because again we try to give participants as level of liberty as much as we can, right? So some of them can choose to also go to museum, traditional setup, palaces, to also learn what the traditional setup, teaches about peace living, so learn about history from the traditional rulers and bring forth learnings from hearing history, from listening to history. Okay, so that is another side to it. So we also try to make people to teach what they learn. So that is where we expect them that they will transfer the knowledge from us to other people in their localities, right? So there's also a knowledge transfer part of the program that we follow through for our people to do and still keep them in the loop of things. And then so when they go and do this knowledge transfer, because again, we also partner with high schools around. So they go to these high schools to do their knowledge transfer work. And then in the high schools, some of the high schools will set up tolerance clubs in their school. And then so they start recruiting members into tolerance clubs in their school. And then, so these are the things we look at, and we also use these things as indicators to measure the impact of what we are doing.
That was my next question. How do you measure your success? Do you have a tangible way that you can see that these relationships and these connections are building tolerance and building peace in your communities?
Yeah, so basically it's about two levels of our evaluation. First level of our evaluation is with our direct participants, right? So before they join us, of course, after we select them, before they come into the academy, there's a questionnaire they fill about their confidence level in the various subjects of the academy. We try to ask them questions about how open they are to cultural setup, about other cultures different from theirs. We try to ask questions about their feeling towards a particular setup in a community, kind of. So just try to get their confidence level, try to get their level of relationship with strange religion. So how easily do they diffuse their stereotypes? So we just try to ask them those questions before the academy starts proper. Then, of course, at the end of the academy as well, we also try to ask them the same questions and try to see the trend. And so from there, we can measure how well we have done with them directly. And then so based on the end we have in sight, that, okay, the end of what we are doing is that we want to see this knowledge multiplying. We want to see these things spread. So we also try to measure our success in the knowledge transfer using how many students they are able to reach, how many high schools we're able to partner with, how many tolerance clubs were set up in the schools we partner with, how many, so we have those indicators to also measure that our knowledge transfer at the end that we have in sight is also working.
And what has your success been thus far? First of all, how old is Tolerance Academy? How long have you been doing this?
Yeah, we started in 2010. So we're about 3.5 years.
And what sort of success have you measured thus far? How many students have you reached, or how many high schools have you reached?
Okay, so we've been able to reach 150 direct participants, and then these 150 direct participants have been able to reach, on the average, each of them has been able to reach minimum of 100 students.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah, so this is also what we also encourage with the follow-up structure we have, because each we created faculties. So we have faculty lead for each of the faculties of the alumni network, and then each of the faculty lead of the alumni network do this follow-up based on some structures we've designed. So it actually makes it very, very effective, and then we can be sure that 95% of our participants will participate in the knowledge transfer mechanism.
That's fantastic. Who pays for this? Where does your funding come from?
So basically, the seed funding, we got the seed funding from United Nations Alliance of Civilization. That's one. So that was the seed funding. Then from then, we've been getting support from individual donations around here. Also been getting support from some partners. It might not be in kind of finances, but in kind. So again, personal donations from friends, from myself as well. Again, so I hand some money from some places. I use it for Tolerance Academy projects. Some friends also contribute. So this is the way we've been managing it. And then so we have all the financial reporting, we have everything, so though it's been very challenging in terms of funding, but again, we've been trying to do the little we can do within our project. And then so we're also trying to reach out to more partners, want to keep doing what we are doing so that we can build more reputation, more equity that we can use as a selling factor to potential donors, potential partners, potential supporters around the world.
How much of your time do you spend on Tolerance Academy
per week?
In a week?
Okay, for example, in a day, I spend minimum of 4 or 5 hours. So that's about 35 hours in a week.
So this is it's a half-time job. Are you getting paid, or do you also find that I know that you're also still working in another profession as well, right?
Yeah.
And is your goal to be able to work on Tolerance Academy full-time, or do you like having this as a part-time focus?
So my goal is to work on Tolerance Academy full-time. Once I see that, it's self-sustaining, once Tolerance Academy becomes self-sustaining, my dream actually is to focus on Tolerance Academy fully without doing any other thing. So full-time I'll be on Tolerance Academy.
And what's the vision behind Tolerance Academy? Is it, obvious? I'm going to make the assumption that the high-level vision is peace throughout Nigeria and also throughout the world. But is there a shorter-term goal that you are trying to reach, a tangible goal that you're trying to reach with the Academy?
So basically, we want to build systems that can help with sustainable peace building. So try to see how we can get people to see that, this approach can give you better results. So this is what we are looking at in the short term.
How do you what are the tools that you use to attract youth into the Tolerance Academy? We've seen on your website, you're clearly on Twitter. I'm going to assume you use Facebook. What are the ways that you use to attract people into your academy?
We're trying as much as possible to use the social media. That's one. We also trying to use our print media, because we have a lot of friends in the the print media, where they publish things. Tolerance Academy. For example, this year alone we had more than 6 publications on different days. So again, this is what we are using, and we are also looking at how we can upload some of the newspaper clippings, upload them on our website so people can also have access to this. So we are trying to leverage on our local media network. Though internationally, we are still trying to see how we can build on an international network, have a global outlook. So we are using the social media basically, and then our local newsprints.
How do you bring that international perspective into Tolerance Academy? You said you've traveled outside of Nigeria to promote Tolerance Academy. Do you bring experts in from outside as well, or?
So for now, we don't have people from outside Nigeria, participating in Tolerance Academy, right? So everybody we've had in the past living within the shores of Nigeria. Okay, so while I do the stuff anytime I travel, I have the opportunity to talk about Tolerance Academy. I try to make reference to the fact that, again, our future plan is that we want to expand beyond Nigeria and see how we can work across border, right? So, for example, in 2011, the academy was selected as a finalist in the Echoing Green Fellowship. I met a number of people, and then we talked about, of course, I had the opportunity to showcase Tolerance Academy more, and then met a number of people, try to create a kind of buzz around the project, around the idea, and again, this is what I've been trying to do personally, and I also have a couple of people that I've also tried to sponsor, about 2 people. I've tried to sponsor for some events outside Nigeria to attend, and then so there and there they also have the opportunity to also talk about Tolerance Academy. One of the trip was in South Africa, and then one was in Ghana, and then so they also tried to talk about, showed some things, showcase things we've done, have some photos display, have some slide presentations. So this is what we've been trying to do personally and internally for ourselves. Again, so we're still looking forward to doing more and to see if we can leverage on more international network, so it can help the visibility of what we are doing. Again, so that the reputation we're also trying to build, the equity we're also trying to build, has both local and international brand value.
And so talk to me a little more in depth. I've read that you have reapplied or you've applied the same model of Tolerance Academy in places like Bolivia and India and Argentina. How does that work?
Exactly. For example, I attended what's it called? United Nations Forum in Brazil. In a plenary session, I had the opportunity to talk about Tolerance Academy model, right? And then I got a number of young people who were interested in the models, and then so they went back to their countries and also implemented the same model. They just transferred verbatim, and so they applied it, and it also worked for them. So it's more of reapplication. So it's just carrying the model and say, so the already existing organizations they work for, so they just went back to the organizations and say, okay, so this model, they do it this way in Nigeria. Can we also try to do it this way? Let's try to simulate, let's try to test or do a pilot with this kind of model. So it was done, and then it was fine.
What do you think attracts other people to this model when you go and you speak at the United Nations or you go and speak at a conference? What's so attractive about it?
3 major things: curriculum, the knowledge transfer mechanism, and then the internship. So the internship attracted them in the sense that, it was an eye-opener that, a Muslim can agree to go to a church and stay with a pastor for 2-3 days or 1 week or 2 weeks and learn everything about what Christianity teaches about peace living, you get. And then a Christian can agree to do this, and vice versa. So that was an attractive point. The other point was a curriculum. Again, so because we have a curriculum, I have different subjects. We have subjects on dialogue. We have subjects on cultural integration. We have subjects on forgiveness. We have subjects on democratic value building. We have subjects on creativity. We have subjects on relational leadership. So it's all encompassing. You can see the way we are building peace and democratic value with that curriculum. So, and then we have some tidbits of the curriculum broken down. So it's very comprehensive and also very dynamic. It's also changing based on feedback from participants, because we do this evaluation too every year, and then we try to also get feedback from participants on the content of the subject, and we also look at the impact we are making, and we are seeing more opportunities in some areas, and then we also try to update the curriculum, some subjects in the curriculum, so this is also an attractive point. Third one is the knowledge transfer, so we don't need to go and manufacture or produce any knowledge transfer mechanism. We already have it existing. All we need to do is just to partner with existing high schools and say, proprietor, come to this round table. This is what we want to come and do in your school. This is what in the end, this is what we are looking at. We want to form tolerance club in your school. We want to do this. We want to do this. So you are going to host our ambassador for the next 1 month. Our ambassador will be with you. Preaching this message. He will practically be a teacher in your school for 1 month. And then after that 1 month, we want to come back and measure the impact of what he has done in your school. So this is the way. So this is the third point that's also carrying weight to people, and they're finding it very interesting to also implement in their area.
Are you finding that the people who are really interested in Tolerance Academy and your model are mostly from places where civil unrest or ethnic violence happens, or do you get interest from everywhere?
The academy is such that it's both reactive to to violence. It's also proactive to violence. Now, for a community that is not experiencing any ethno-religious crisis, it doesn't mean it can never experience it. So what can we use to prevent it? So this is the proactive part of Tolerance Academy. So Tolerance Academy tries to open up people's mind. So what people are not thinking before, they start thinking about it, such that, when somehow something happened, they already have an idea, they have the knowledge base to also manage things. So the proactive sense of Tolerance Academy caters for communities that don't experience ethno-religious crisis, while the reactive part caters for communities that experience ethno-religious crisis. So, for example, in Nigeria, there are some parts of Nigeria that don't experience ethno-religious crisis as of today, and there are some parts that are experiencing it every day. So you see, Tolerance Academy can play in between. So here, Tolerance Academy can play in preventing it. There, Tolerance Academy can play in building it. So this is it. So for us, the way we're thinking about it is that we will get interest from people who are not experiencing violence, and then from people who are experiencing violence.
I want to talk about you for a second. When do you sleep? I think that you have a job that you go to during the day. You spend 35 hours a week on Tolerance Academy. Tell me about a typical day for you. What does a typical day look like?
Okay, so a typical day for me, I wake up 5:30. I do my prayers for a few minutes. I grab my laptop. Okay, so I try to read some stuff for Tolerance Academy for about 30 minutes, like just read through reports, edit some report. And then I spend another 30 minutes looking at my schedule for the day at work, my normal professional work. So look at my schedule, my to-do list, that, between 8 and 9, this is what I want to do. So I try to update my to-do list. Okay, so by 6:30, I'm off my house. So I drive down to work. I prepare for my meeting at 8, from 7:30 to 8. And then I do my meeting. I lead my meeting from 8 to 10. So from 10, I try to attend to so I have direct reports that work for me, about 7 of them. So I do that till 12 noon. So 12 noon, I go for my lunch. Okay, so from 1, I do my stuff. So up to 4:35, I leave. I come back to my house. I will grab my laptop, and then I open up to Tolerance Academy work. So I do that from 5:30 up to 11:30. Then I drop my laptop, and then in between I also have my dinner, and then I drop my laptop, and then I sleep. Then I wake up 5:30, and then I start all over again, except weekend. So weekend, I am fully, because I also move around over weekends. I get invitations from different parts of the country to come and lead some trainings. I basically lead trainings on leadership, relational leadership. So then sometimes universities invite me for some speaking engagements. They call me to come and speak to their graduating students on this and that. So I do all these travels over the weekend, Friday and Sunday. I mean, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I do all these other engagements over the weekend. So Sunday, I go to church, come back from church, I also grab my laptop again and start reading stuff. So I'm also again in between these, I'm also working on my first book of fiction, which will be my publisher's already on my neck. So my first book of fiction should be out by mid this year, hopefully.
Holy
So
smokes, you're a fiction writer too?
Yes.
That's amazing.
You can see it's a difficult life for me, and I think I got used to it early in my growing up years. I got used to being very busy, and so I still don't see it as if I am busy. I've still been seeing it as this is normal me. These are the normal things that define me. So I really don't see it as extra burden. So of course this is what is part of me, and
Sure.
I think I'm used to it.
Jonah, this is my last question. If you were to have someone in the Tolerance Academy or a student, from one of your high schools come up to you and say, Jonah, I really want to help build peace like you do or become a development professional like you are, what would your advice be to them? What's the first thing they should do?
My advice would just basically be, they don't need to look up to anybody. They only need to look up to themselves. So what do they want to do? This is my question. So is social entrepreneurship your call? If it is not your call, don't go into it. I mean, so it's a lot of sacrifice, a lot of things, a lot of lookaways, a lot of, things that you do and you don't get paid for, you don't get rewarded for, nobody recognizes you, nobody gives you any kudos, nobody says thank you, nobody, So if you are not ready to take all these things, then it is not for you. I mean, so it's about checking. So what wakes you up from bed every day? I mean, this is what you need to think about. So what pushes you up from bed every day? What gets you thinking every day? Every time you are eating, what comes to your head? I mean, every time you are lying on your bed, what comes to your mind? So, when you think about those things, when you can come to terms with those things, then you really know where your call is, where you should invest your energy and time. So, again, if your gut feel says it is saying development profession, I mean, you need to come into it fully. You need to come into it with your heart. You need to come into it with your mind. You need to come into it with your soul and with your body. Right? So this is what can guarantee your success and your development as a person. Right? So this is what I have seen has worked for some people, for some development professional I have seen. And this is what I also believe that will work for me.
Jonah, thank you so much for your time today. This has been a fantastic conversation.
Yeah, thank you, Sladek, for your time too, and I enjoyed the drilling.
You've been listening to Terms of Reference, a weekly podcast from aidpreneur.com. Find us on iTunes or at www.aidpreneur.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.